Hello and welcome back to this course. Today in this video we are going to discuss about the final keyword. Now final keyword can be used with the variables, method and the classes. Now variable may be an instance variable, local variable or static variable. First of all, final variable. When a variable is declared with the final keyword, its value cannot be modified. It is just like constant. Means once we created a variable, we can only initialize the variable once. To have a better understanding about the final variable, let's create our dummy program in our NetBeans. So here first of all I am going to create a class with the name demo, for example, and I am going to create a variable here like private string name. We know that this is a instance variable, and when I add final keyword with that, then this variable becomes the final instance variable. If I type here final, now this variable has become the final instance variable. You have an error there. A variable may not initialize in default constructor. It is saying that you must have to initialize this value. We initialize the variable in some time. Now we have created the final instance variable, and if I add static before it like this, now this variable has become the static final variable of the class. And if I create a dummy method here, I type here void dummy for an instance, and in this method I am going to declare a variable here like int a. Now we know that this is a local variable, and when I add final before it, final int a, now this variable has become the final local variable that we can only assign value to a once, we cannot assign it again and again. Now we have an error that we must have to initialize it. Now we can initialize the final variable in three ways. First of all, we can initialize it when we have declared it, like I type here Java. The first way is this: we can initialize it with the, you can say it can initialize when it is declared. And the second way is using the constructor. You can type here demo, and inside the constructor you type here name equals to, for example, Java, like this. Now you have an error, we have to move the static from here. Now we can initialize the final variable at the time of declaration inside the constructor, and we can also initialize our final variable by using the initialization block. I type here initialization block, and in this block I am going to type here name equals to Java, like this. Okay, so now I remove this constructor from here like this. You can assign the values in three different ways: at the time of initialization, in the constructor, or in the initialization block. If this variable is static, like here it is static, now you have to type here static, and you can initialize the static final variable here. Okay, so this is the final variable, and now we have the final method. The final method cannot be overridden, means we cannot override the final method. And final class, it cannot be extended, means we cannot apply the inheritance, and we cannot extend the final class or cannot create the child class of the final class. So let's create our program for the final method and the final class in our NetBeans. So here I am going to create one more class here like class, you can say test, and now in this class I am going to create a method here. I type here public final void test, and in this method I am going to type a just single statement system.out.println, and you can say here test. Okay, so now this method is final, and if I extend this class here like extends test, and I type here public void test, you get an error here. Now what is the error? Error is we cannot override the method in this class because that method is final, so we cannot override the method once we created it final. So I hope you understand that how final keyword works in the variables and the methods. Okay, so now I am going to remove these lines, and now I am going to make this test class final. I type here final. As I type here final, I got an error. Cannot inherit from the final test. It means that once the class is created final, we cannot create the child class of that class, or we cannot apply the inheritance there. So in this way, final keyword works with the variable, methods and the classes. I hope you understand. So you may got a question that why we use the final keyword. For example, you are dealing with a program in which you have to maintain a value constant. You create a final variable and give him the value. Then that value will just act like a constant. It means that its value cannot be changed, and it is a final variable, and we can only initialize this variable once. So that variable will act as a constant there. And there are many other scenarios in which we can use the final keyword. So I hope you understand about this final keyword. That's it for this video. I will see you in next video.